Shabbat Shalom, my beautiful family and friends. Welcome again to another episode of a few quality moments around the Shabbat table with the Rabbi's son. Shabbat Shalom to you. We spend a little time each Sabbath, if we can, sharing together a great quest. This great quest has taken us a long way. We're into now beginning the fourth Sefer, the fourth book of the Torah. We are more than halfway through the adventure that we set up at the beginning of the year, beginning of the fall, I should say, because it's the year for some people. What I am happy to do today is break the seal with you on the fourth Sefer, the fourth book of Torah. This is a glorious moment of advance. Our quest has taken us a long way, but it has a long way yet to go, because we are actually, after all, trying to find the answers to life's most important questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Who is responsible for all this? And what is his plan? What does he have in mind? What is his goal? What is his objective? And where do we fit in this grand plan? So we have been trying to get to know our Creator, get to know the architect of the universe through his prescribed method, his methodology that he's chosen, which is Torah. The Torah study is our introduction to our Creator and his plan and who we really are, even though the world tells us we're something different. Good morning, and let's have a good time today discussing these wonderful things. The actual text that we'll be looking at today will be the first four chapters, almost all the first four chapters at least, of the book of the Western world calls it Numbers. It's called Bamidbar, in the wilderness or in the desert is the name from the Hebrew that was originally called and still called among the Hebrew peoples. But the first four chapters are sort of a launching into a great adventure. We're going to be launching into the next phase of the Creator's great nation building program, his initiative. So as we begin, we need to kind of take a deep breath and realize that the focus is going to be on the collective identity here. We are in the process of being shaped and molded into a great nation with a great mission. Think about our collective redemption story, the story of our deliverance from bondage from Egypt. Think about where we came from and where we come to. Think about what happened at Sinai, which is the central focus of all of our lives. Our DNA was forever changed at Sinai. And so the things that happened at Sinai didn't just happen to individuals or even to individual bloodlines. They happened to mankind, and mankind's DNA was shifted and the world was changed at Sinai. So we have a collective redemption story. We have collective vows that we made at Sinai. Remember what our vows were? Na'aseh v'nishma. The strange thing about those vows is we didn't just take them for our individual selves or even for our families or our households or our cultures. We took them and universally, we will make what you said, we will build what you said, we will do what you have said, and we will shema, we will tune our frequency of our heart to your frequency, to the messages and the impulses you send out, and the wavelength of your communications. This is where we will be. And we said, we will do it, not I will do it. Not my little family group will do it. Not my little cultural group or ethnic group will do it. No, we, mankind, will do it. We, not aseh v'nishma. So we have a collective vow to begin this nation-building process. We have a collective redemption story. We have a collective revelation stream that flowed from Sinai, and this great infusion or inversion. Heaven touched earth, and then heaven invaded earth, and this inversion took place from the higher to the lower, and we have a collective experience of that at Mount Sinai and through the tabernacle, the great Imanu initiative. So we're ready for the next phase of our Creator's great nation building initiative. You see, Torah is not just a book we read. It's not just a sacred text upon which we treasure. Torah is our story. It's our life story. It's our song. It is the most important component of our DNA. So as we read through the Torah, we don't just read a story about someone else. We read our own story. We are who it says we are. We do what it says we do. This is our story. This is our song. It's the most important component of our DNA. It is our life script. So as we read it, we don't just read it, we relive it. We learn the lessons afresh, anew, that are learned by our ancestors as the events are transpiring. We do not just read the Torah, beloved. We relive it, and this is how we re-engage with the Creator and our calling and who we really are and why we're really here and what He's really all about. It's our life script. We don't just read it, we relive it. And it is our past, but it is also our present, and it will also be our future. The Torah is, and it is, and it is, it was, it is, it shall be. And the Torah becomes for us the ocean on which we surf and sail and trade and live. Sefer Bamidbar, the fourth book of Torah, the Sefer we're opening the seals on today. It will be for us a 10-unit, taking 9 weeks to navigate, a 10-unit with 9-week navigation of a great nation forging and bonding adventure. You know how companies or groups sometimes have a bonding adventure, and they go out and they do these collective tests and collective exercises to try to build a bond of unity and forge an identity of the collective. Well, that's what this book is going to be for us. The nation, B'nai Israel, the great nation that the Holy One promised to Abraham, is going to be forged and bonded together through a series of adventures in what I call the second wilderness. As a matter of fact, I call this entire book, Welcome to Camp Wilderness. This is our basic training venue for the great nation, for the hosts of heaven, the covenant host. The tests and trials of the second wilderness constitute the ultimate obstacle course, training ground, proving ground. See, in the past book we just read, in Sefer Vayikra, the book the world knows as Leviticus, the third book of Torah, the calling of the Holy One was strong. It started the book and it continued into the book, and it was, come to me, I will dwell with you, I will be your God, and you will be my people, and I will make my tabernacle among you and walk among you. Come to me. And that was the story, the theme of the third book of Torah. But the fourth book of Torah is going to be a slight twist. Instead of saying, come to me, the Holy One is going to be calling, come with me. We have places to go. We have things to accomplish. We have obstacles to overcome. We have a kingdom to build. Come with me will be the theme of this fourth book. We're coming from where? We're coming from this otherworldly beauty realm of the King. We have learned to traffic and be courtiers there. What a beautiful thing to be able to experience more than just this world's ugliness and its wounding and its scarring and even its pleasures, to experience the ultimate pleasures of the beauty realm of our King, to be courtiers in his courts, to understand his protocols and his goodness and his majesty, and bring life and Kedusha energy, the energy that fuels heaven, to bring it to earth. That's what we've been in, but we're going somewhere with it. We're going to take it with us into where will we go? To the tohu v'vohu v'chosek, the without form and void and full of darkness realm that most fallen men live in on a day-by-day basis. Most cultures, most ethnicities, all ethnicities of the world, all cultures of the world, all nations of the world live in this tohu v'vohu v'chosek realm of shakat, shakat and hamas, violence, cruelty, evil, corruption. This is the world we're going to take the beauty realm things into. We're going to take the beauty realm things, the Kedusha of God, into the dark energy realms, the realms that are pervaded by and controlled by dark energy, the unclean, the profane, the disunified, the angry, the offended. We're going to go into that realm. We're going to take the Kedusha of the Holy One into that realm, and we'll have some trial, and we'll have some error. We'll have some horrible mistakes. We'll have some wonderful victories. but we will go where the darkness and the flesh and the pseudo intellect pervade, and are causing right now all creation to groan with eager expectation for the sons of the Holy One, the Creator, to be revealed. In the fourth book of Torah, which we are about to enter, we will have this revelation stream released in us and through us, but it will be tested and it will be tried, and sometimes we will be found wanting, and we will have to learn disciplines, and we will have to learn protocols. We will have to learn commitment to the collective, overriding the individual personal desires and likes and feelings, and even our opinions, and even our theology and doctrines. We will have to learn to surrender to the collective, the greater plan, and so that the whole of Bnei Israel, the whole of the great nation the Creator is building upon the earth, to be the sons and daughters of the living God, to be that nation, the whole will be the greater than the sum of its individual parts. Are you ready for the sandal meets the sand and the rubber meets the road tests? Well, what are we going to do this season? The season of the next phase of the Creator's grand nation building plan. What will it involve? It will involve, first of all, orienting to a totally new social fabric and social structure than the world has. The world builds its social fabric and social structure. The nations do this around the individual will and around the group think of the culture of the nation, the ethnicity, the ideology, the political party. The world looks at things through jaundiced eyes, evil eyes. And they don't mean to be evil morally. They just see it through their own eyes, the way they want to see it, the way they choose to see the world. They don't choose to see the world through a social fabric based upon the greater good, upon the King's and the Creator's plan, upon the kingdom that is coming into the earth. They don't build their worldview around that, and their social fabric and their social structure around that. But we, beloved, are called to do so. And this social fabric, social structure is radically different, dramatically different. It sets us apart from all other people groups. It is built around the manifest presence of the Creator of the universe as being the most significant thing we could possibly have. Not our wish list, not our bucket list, not our American or other cultural's dream. No, the plan of the Creator of the universe and His presence coming to earth, on earth as it is in heaven. May His kingdom come. May His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This is the prima facie. This is the Creator's one true goal that supersedes all our individual desires, opinions, or likes or dislikes. The plan of the Creator of the universe and His presence coming to earth and redeeming and restoring humanity and creation to its Edenic state. Well, this is the change in the social fabric and social structure, and we will see that tested and tried. We will see it become in the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar. We will see that structure tested so tight, so heavily, that only 2 out of 603,550 will hold on to the vision, to the view. But a new generation will arise after that generation, and it will hold on to that view. Now, the idea, what is the most important thing in your camp? What is the most important thing in life to you? This requires some meditation, because before we get into the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, my beloved, my friends, my family members, all of those who I know that I haven't met, all of you out there, the question is, what is the most important thing in your life? What is job one, priority number one to you? What do you think is the most important facet of your life, the most important thing you can do, the most important thing you can focus your life upon? And what is the center of gravity of your life? This is the question. This must be answered by the Bnei Israel, great nation people. To be forged into a great nation means that we have one highest priority. We have multiple smaller priorities that are under that. We don't give up those priorities, but we do subordinate them. We subordinate those priorities, all selfish, all ethnic, all cultural, all ideological priorities, all opinion priorities, all our little individual self ideas of what truth is, to one thing, to the maintenance and the supply to the world of the Kedusha flow of heaven unto earth. The energy that we have found a portal we have been invited to come into and actually become a portal through which the Kedusha energies of the beauty of heaven and the wonder and the majesty and the goodness of heaven and the redemptive power of heaven comes to earth. And that is our first job, our first priority. And it supersedes all other responsibilities, all other priorities of life. So this social fabric and social structure that has this shared unifying factor will not be one who splinters into groups, splinters into competing tribes and clans, but we will be e pluribus unum. We will come together for the sake of the greater plan, and for the sake of the greater good, and for the sake of the greater mission that we've been called to, and for the greater King that we serve. We will come together and work together and collaborate. Well, this is the challenge of the wilderness. We'll have to be trained in that process. The second thing that we'll learn is, in this journey through the wilderness, will be to reconnect with and assess the needs of our bloodlines or our seed lines. I use those terms pretty much interchangeably. The seed, the blood is the life force, and the seed is the reproductive aspect. So the bloodline, the people that we come from, the bloodline that we come from, and the bloodline that will follow after us, the seed that we were sprouted from, and the seed that we will sow into the world for a new generation and a new generation after that. This bloodline and seed, how connected do we feel to it? Are we connected to it? Did the Holy One put us together in seed, in families, in bloodlines, in order to make those bloodlines manifest, to make those bloodlines maximize in their potential? And our job is to learn to associate with those bloodlines without rebellion, without competition, without resentment, and to understand He put us here for a reason, and we have a reason. We didn't put us into a perfect bloodline or a perfect seed line, and He's not making us become a perfect bloodline, but He says there are certain things about the bloodline that I put you in, or the seed line that I birthed you into, and as you live in, that need to be restored, healed, need to be fixed, need to be beautified, be edified, need to be brought under subjection to the greater will and the greater plan. So connecting with the bloodline and seed line and the plan for the bloodline and the seed line that the Creator has. The third thing we'll do in the book of Numbers is that we will learn to embrace our kingdom identities rather than our individual or our tribal or our clan or our father's house or our cultural or ethnic or any other form of identity. We will embrace our kingdom identity as job one. We are parts of a covenant of Abraham, and the plan and the strategy of the Holy One for the covenant people of Abraham is our strategy and our purpose. The fourth thing we'll learn to do is walk in our covenant calling, begin to function, begin to experience life through the lens of our covenant callings, and face resistance and face and overcome challenges with a Redeemer's viewpoint, the covenant redeeming viewpoint, the kinsman redeemers with regard to our bloodline, our seed line, to those around us and to the world, kingdom, kinsman redemption, kingdom-minded people. The fifth thing we will do in the book of Numbers, beloved, I know we're getting overwhelmed a little bit with some of these things, so we'll take a deep breath before we get to the fifth and the sixth. There will be six altogether, I'm going to mention. The fifth one is we'll get our first real tests of the degree of Kedusha infusion and absorption and the degree of true tone calibration that we've actually received thus far in our journey, in our quest. How much have we learned from our time in Torah? How much have we learned from our ancestors' adventures at Sinai and before Sinai? How much have we, and how much connection and connectivity? How good is the seal of the kippur, of the covering been that connects the heavens and the earth in our lives? Are we ready for the tests, the challenges that will flow when we get out of us this present season, which we've been going through, the season of free flowing creator speak, and the Creator speak. The voice and the words of the Creator become fewer and farther between. This is what's going to happen in the desert, and we're going to have to learn to rely upon the degree of Kedusha we've already been and received. We're going to have to rely upon revelation we have absorbed, and true tone calibration we have learned. We're going to have to rely upon that and become disciplined in that, because it won't be happening every day. It won't be happening every moment. We won't have this free-flowing Creator speak fountain that we've been having at Sinai. And the sixth, the last thing we'll talk about as far as the book of Sefer Bamidbar, is that we will focus on, can the whole, can kol et ha'edut b'nei Israel, can the witness throng of Israel as a whole be greater than the sum of its individual parts? The answer, of course, is yes, it can. Now, on the table for discussion this week, in Parsha Bamidbar, the opening 4 chapters, as it were, of Sefer Bamidbar, this new book we're studying, beloved, what's on the table? What will we be talking about? What will you be reading about? What will you be discussing around the Shabbat table with the rabbi's son, but more so in your homes and in your families with your little small groups that you meet with? What will you be discussing? Well, I'll categorize it like this. The first thing I want you to be discussing and thinking about and meditating on is, where is your head? Now, the opening words of the Parsha in the book will be, for at least the divine words, the words of Creator speak, will be, Seu et rosh b'nei Israel, lift up the head, singular, not the heads, lift up the head of b'nei Israel. So where is your head? I hope you're seeing imagery of body parts connected to the head, growing up into the head, who is Messiah. And I hope you're seeing all this imagery developing. And the question is, where is your head? Are you connected to your head? Lift up your head. Lift up unto your head. Rise up into your head. And the head, who is the head of Bnei Israel? It's Mashiach. Mashiach. Ben David, Mashiach. Now, who is your head? Where is your head? Are you connected to the head? Is your head uplifted, or are you looking down? Are you downcast? Why are you downcast? I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to look you in the eye through this lens of this camera and say, why are you downcast? Do you not know why you're here? Do you not know this is all just test to make you the part of the unit, part of the control group, part of the team that is building the kingdom of heaven upon the earth? Why are you downcast, O my soul? Lift up your heads. Now lift up your heads, beloved. Lift up your head collectively, individually, unto the head of Bnei Israel, who is Mashiach. The second thing on your table for discussion this week, I hope, will be, what does it look like when the hosts are mustered? When they host, I don't mean this condiment that you put on a sandwich or a piece of bread. I'm talking about mustering. When you gather together, a symbol for purposes of receiving an assignment, receiving a calling, receiving orders from on high, the mustering of the hosts, the assembly of all the groups. What is it like when we come together? Now, the actual word host is fascinating. In Hebrew, the Hebrew root of this is zavaot, plural of zavah, which is zadeh, vav, and aleph. Now, the very interesting related word is zavah, which is zadeh, vav, and hey, just a different third letter of the third consonant of this root. Now, if you understand the connection between zavah and Zavah, the two different Zavahs, which are all pronounced the same but have different last letters of them, you understand that Zavah means to, we usually think in English as command or enjoin or call together, and respond to an assignment, respond to a direction, respond to a decree, respond to someone who is actually giving this call to come together, the head. And this is how the Zavaot work. The Zavaot, the host, are those who respond to the call and who will follow the instruction, who will live out and join in together, collectively doing the instruction and making it a priority. The mustering of the host, what does it look like? And what do we need to do to again connect with the mustering of the host, the call to be Zavaot, the host of the Holy One? The third thing on your Shabbat table that we can discuss is the boot camp paradigm, the wilderness boot camp paradigm. What is the wilderness? Why did he choose this to be our ultimate obstacle course? Why did he use this to be our place where we have these connectivity, exercises, forging identity and forging collective identity and bonding? Why did he choose the desert? Because the desert, the wilderness, is a collection of widely scattered, strategically located wadis, which is wet weather streams, watersheds, the hillsides off of which the water comes into those little wadis, and the dry places in between. Challenging terrain, challenging environment, heat, there's deprivations, there's sensory challenges, wind and sand fleas and creatures of the desert that are somewhat frightening and intimidating. There are desert hordes of highwaymen and brigands that are out to do you harm. This is where they camp to hide out. This is their hideout places. This is their wasteland. Well, this is the place where we're taken for our bonding exercises. We need to work together. We need to learn not to do things as lone rangers and try to do it our way and make our idea, concept, or theology of truth be more important than the collective plan. We have to learn that the hard way in these difficult terrain. This is our obstacle course for training in discipline, devotion, collaboration, teamwork, interdependence, and taking responsibility. The fourth thing that should be on our Shabbat table to discuss should be our bunks and our battle stations. Where do we hang our hat? Where do we lay our bodies down? And why? And where are our battle stations? Where are we in this stage of being the last line of defense for whoever we're next to? Our buddy. Well, usually in the kingdom sense, it is our family and our bloodline, our wives, our children. We don't separate from them to go to war or to fight a battle. They are right there with us. We are their last line of defense, and if we don't learn to take responsibility, if we don't learn to respond and carry the kedusha and carry the strength and follow the will instructions, then they will be the ones who suffer, and we will watch them. Now, this is the importance of learning where we bunk and where our battle stations are and where our social responsibility is, and how the most important thing we can do is keep open for all of us the presence and the kedusha flow of the Holy One's beauty realm into our bloodline. And the fifth thing that we'll talk about should be maybe discussed at your Shabbat tables among you and your family is the challenges of tribal life. Challenges of tribal life. I know today tribalism is celebrated as good. It's dangerous. It can be good if tribal identity is subjugated to collective identity. It is extremely dangerous if tribal identity is elevated over collective identity. The challenges of tribalism are important for B'nai Israel. And I'll tell you one reason why, and you can think about this, and I hope this will open your eyes to what the book of Numbers and what the plan is all about. You remember there's a skeleton in our closet that deals with tribalism. Division amongst us, among the whole. And I'm talking about the skeleton that we carry in a box with us on our journey through the wilderness. The box contains the bones of Yosef. What's the story of Yosef? What story are we continually carrying with us all the time? The story of Yosef and his brothers, the source of all these tribes that we're going to be reading about, the source of all these different tribes and clans comes from the story of Yosef, because you see, Yosef was the failure. The story of Yosef was the story of failure of tribal submission to the greater plan, to the Father's will, All the brothers, the other tribes collectively conspired against, hated, and competed with Joseph, and later with Benjamin. And so this idea, the challenge of tribalism, whenever you elevate your tribe or your ethnicity or your group or your ideology or your denomination or your label above someone else's or your vocabulary phrasing above someone else's, you have just lost the key element of great nationhood, which is the unity that comes from following the Holy One's will and his ways and prioritizing that above all else in the world. The challenges of tribalism, the skeleton in our closet. So, as we begin to wind ourselves down and open up our hearts in the deepest way to the things of the Torah, I'll ask you a question to get us started. How much do you know about your bloodline, where you came from? The actual DNA strands. How much do you know about how far back does your genealogy go? What problems were in your bloodline? What patterns of behavior? What character traits? What negative behavior and traits are involving marriages and child-parent relationships and sibling relationship patterns run within the bloodline that you come from? Because the covenant runs with the bloodline. The land will run with the bloodline. The assignments will run with the bloodline. So what character traits, what negative and positive behavioral traits, what characteristics, what issues in marriages, issues in child-parent relationships, issues in sibling relationships, what run within your bloodline? What do you see when you start looking backwards? And what do you want to see when you start looking forwards into the future? What do you want the patterns regarding marriages to look like in the future? What would you want the patterns of child and parent and child relationships to look like in the future and in the generations to come? What do you want sibling relationships to look like in the generations to come? You see, if you have a goal, you have a dream, have a vision for what you want it to look like, a kingdom vision with Kedusha running through it, you've got to plan ahead and you begin to do the things to set in motion the patterns and fix, make tikkun for, make restoration for the little parts as much as you can of all the negative you've seen in your bloodline. We are going to step into all sorts of aspects of our bloodline. There are phases of blessing over our bloodline that the Holy One has spoken and ordained for our bloodline. But there are also stages of cursing that our predecessors in the bloodline have chosen for themselves. They have rejected, in some cases, the ways of the Holy One and have chosen something else, and that has brought them under the world's curse and their own self-curse. So, what blessings and what curses are within your bloodline? What were you born into? And what are you supposed to leave that bloodline looking like? How is it supposed to change by virtue of you being here? Make tikkun. Second thing we can discuss, second question I have to get your mind rolling and get your heart open and cause you to embrace the deeper levels of Kedusha that's in this book, are how important do you think it is where and near whom you live and work and study and pray? How important do you think it is where, near whom you live and work and study and pray? You see, do you feel a sense of neighbor responsibility, a calling to be brother's keeper and neighbor lover? Do you have this sense of neighbor responsibility, which is the next step after mother, father, and sister, brother responsibility? Are you willing to be a last line of defense for your neighbor, as he should be a last line of defense for you? This is the buddy system that the military understands, grown exponentially by families, by households, and by neighborhoods. So how important do you think it is to be who you are, where you live, and by whom you live? It is an idea, can you provide support and receive support humbly from your neighbors, from those you live around? Some will be iron sharpening iron tests. challenges to your shalom, to your patience and joy. Will you be patient? Will you forbear? Will you be diligent and disciplined in your approach to this, as opposed to reacting negatively and emotionally and causing more harm, more things to make tikkun for in the next generations? You see, the neighborhood, the neighbor that you live around, the people you live next to, that you bunk next to, that your battle station is next to, these people are the bridge to the community engagement impact the Creator has for you, the bridge to the community engagement and impact and plan the Creator has for you. Third question I could put on the table. Take a deep breath after that one. Third question. Open your heart. Do you know your specific bloodline assignment? What you're supposed to do in the bloodline the Holy One assigned to you. Sometimes we wish we were born into a different family, a different bloodline. Sometimes we don't even understand the bloodline we're in. The Holy One chose these things strategically. He chose to put you in the bloodline you're in for a strategic reason that has to do with redemption and restoration. Not vengeance, not anger, not pride, not arrogance. Tikkun, making restoration, reparations. Do you know, and are you discipling in? And are you beginning to see the world through and approach the world through the lens of your specific bloodline assignment? Do you want to know your bloodline assignment? Do you want to walk in your bloodline assignment? Are you willing to accept that you are who the Holy One created you to be, put you in the family and the household and amongst the people that you were designed for you to work with? Well, let's talk about Bamidbar a little bit. Bamidbar is a Hebrew phrase which means in a dry desert or a wilderness, dry wilderness. We've been focusing on looking up the mountain, seeing this fire and the lightning and the thunder and hearing the shofar from on high. We've been focusing on God speak, Creator speak. We've been focusing on all these beautiful things of the beauty realm. But now he says, we're Bamidbar. We're going Bamidbar. Sinai is the first, Bamidbar Zin, Bamidbar Sin, Bamidbar Paran, Bamidbar, all these different deserts, all these different wadis with all these different watersheds and all these different dry places in between. It's going to be a long, winding road through the desert to get to our promised land. And this is strategic. It is planned. So we are in Bamidbar, Sinai, not on the mountain anymore. We're at the base of the mountain looking out at all the dry deserts. Midbar, what does it mean? Bamidbar, in a desert, in a wilderness, in a dry area. What does it mean? Well, the verb at the root of dabar, midbar, is to buzz, to vibrate, to speak, to resonate, and therefore to come into alignment, to put things in order. It's also used in regard to shepherding, the ancient shepherding task, to talk about how you call the sheep together and lead them. A shepherd leads the sheep to water and to pasturage and then back home again. This idea of order and vibration and accomplishing a goal, fulfilling a circuit, midbar. So that's our story. That's where we're going to be. We're going to be we're going to leave the watershed of Wadi Sinai, of Bamidbar Sinai, the wilderness of Sinai. We're going to go to the watershed of Paran. Kadesh Barnea will be there. Karak's rebellion will take place there. We'll go to the watershed of Wadi Zin, and Miriam will die there. And we'll have the giving of water at Meribah, where Moshe strikes this rock with his staff instead of speaking to it, and finds he's not going to go into the promised land. We'll go to the watersheds ruled by Edom, by the seed of our brother Edom, Esau. We'll go into his watersheds, and then we'll go into the watershed of Wadi Kadimot, the place of where Aaron will pass away, and he will be buried, and we'll transfer his priesthood robes and his role to his son Eleazar. We'll experience there in that watershed the raid of the king of Arad, and we'll have captives taken and restored and rescued. And then we'll have messengers, we'll send messengers to the next watershed, to Sihon, where the Amorites rule, to the king Sihon. And we will then have war. He will not listen to our overtures of peace. He will not offer us safe passage. He will not let us go through his land. We will come out and make war with us. We will have war with the Amorite kings Sihon and Og. And then we will camp on the Moabian desert. We will deal with the Moabian Midiani conspiracy with Balaam and Balak, and we will then prepare for Deuteronomy. That's what we'll face in Bamidbar. For those of you who walk with Messiah and who we have a rabbi that is preparing us for the great return, the restoration, Rabbi Yeshua. Those who walk in, and remember his calling, and we walk ourselves after his calling. Where was he called? When he was endued, when he breathed in and received the fullness of the Ruach HaKodesh of the Holy One, he was led into a wilderness of Bamidbar. He was led Bamidbar, where he was tested by his adversary. He had tests of fleshly appetites. He had tests of weariness of body and mind. He had tests of pseudo-intellectual presumption and presumptiveness. He had tests of distraction and seduction of worldly and temporal things. This is our pattern as well. This is the pattern that was followed. He had the same pattern that was followed by Bnei Israel in the desert. So it is for all of us. Part of our bonding as a nation, part of our coming together for the great collective, more than the sum of its parts, part of our becoming who we were created to be and do what we're created to do upon the earth and bring tikkun olam and bring tikkun nefesh into this world is to go through this wilderness training program. So lift up your heads. Lift up your heads unto the head. Embrace your collective identity. Embrace your mission, which is to keep and secure and steward the Kedusha energy of heaven as you go through the deserts of this life and all experiences that go with them. Well, it's time for me to leave you now. Please drop me a note if you don't mind. Let me know where you are and what's going on in your life and if I can pray for you or if you just want to share some things. Blessings to you. Shabbat Shalom. We got 8 more weeks of our study of Bamidbar to get into more details. We'll see you next week.